When ReStem was first released in early 2025, I considered it to be the best drum separation software at that time. But time has passed, unmixing software has evolved, and ReStem 2 has just been released. This raises the question if it's worth upgrading from ReStem 1 to this new ReStem 2. After this video, you will know. There are a few ways you can use ReStem 2. It works standalone, as an insert plugin in your DAW, or, and that's new, as an Era 2 plugin also in your DAW. Depending on how exactly you use ReStem 2, you get a few modes. In standalone and Era 2, you only get offline modes. For standalone, you have to load in an audio file. Era 2 mode, this is done automatically because you use it on an audio clip. As an insert plugin, you get a real-time mode, which is heavy on the CPU and GPU of your system. Here in Cubase, it's very heavy, but that's also due to how Cubase mismanages multi-core. The quality though is rather impressive, especially for real-time. That said, I would only use this mode for quick checking whether or not you can get good sounding separated stems, and use one of the offline modes when you want to commit, and for the MIDI output, which is new in ReStem 2. More on this later. Now, using these offline modes in ReStem 2 in your DAW as a plugin insert works like this. You have to play back the audio you want separated and press record. Make sure you play all audio you want separated in real time. After this, ReStem 2 will do its thing and separate the stems in high quality. The quality difference between the real-time and offline modes is big enough to justify using the offline modes. I want to highlight one thing which really impresses me in ReStem 2. Listen to this part and try to listen for the snare ghost notes. Those are very soft snare hits. This is how ReStem 2 manages to isolate them. It's so good. I wish I had this option back when I was still teaching drums. Here's a comparison between ReStem version 1 and the new ReStem version 2. I have dropped in Spectral Layers 13 as well, since that one got 2 upgrades since the last ReStem version and is one of the leaders in the drum unmixing business, in my opinion. For this comparison, I will use the drums from Saint Anger by Metallica, because these are, let's say, special sounding. I won't play the rest of the music. The track in red is ReStem 2, blue is ReStem 1 and green is Spectral Layers 13. ReStem 2 and version 1 sound very similar with these full drums. Spectral Layers is already very different. When I do a quick EQ match between Spectral Layers 13 and ReStem 2, you can see the difference is that ReStem 2 captures more of the body of the snare. There's a big difference in how these snare resonances are captured, and Spectral Layers captures more of the mids. Let's take a closer look between the first and second part of this drum track. The cymbals with spectral layers have more body, but also sound more aliased. With both ReStem 1 and 2, the drums sound more natural. The overall image sounds more complete and less aliased. Between version 1 and 2 of ReStem there is little difference. ReStem 2 captures the cymbals a fraction better if you really listen carefully. Now let's check the fast double bass drum parts. The difference here is night and day. Spectral layers completely missed all cymbals and snaring and sounds aliased. Between ReStem 1 and 2 the difference is small again. ReStem 2 captures the high end a bit better. You hear more of the high end of the cymbals and more of the snare attack. Let's dive a bit deeper even and listen to the snare only. Spectral layers captures more of that typical ring of this Metallica snare. Both ReStem versions have a lot less of that. But the ReStem snares are far more usable with a coherent sounding separation, whereas the Spectral layers version cuts off. The Spectral layer snare is also stereo, where the ReStems are mono. Typical differences. And now let's do the same comparison for kick. The difference between spectral layers and ReStem is very obvious. Spectral layers sounds artifacty where ReStem sounds good. Between ReStem 1 and 2, funny enough, the ReStem 1 version sounds more open and I prefer that one by a smidge. You could also say that ReStem 2 sounds more isolated. Now, for some reason, there's a difference in ReStem 2 between the plugin version and the ARA2 version. Listen to the differences with again the Metallica Saint Anger drums. Kick first and the algorithm is set to best for both. The ARA version sounds more open and the plugin insert is more controlled. Snare next. The plugin insert version sounds more controlled again. The ARA 2 snare has more of the ring. Hi-hat now. Huge difference. I don't know what I think of these differences, because you might hope that regardless of which plugin version you use, the result will be the same. And it's not that one is far better than the other one and it's an easy choice. Both can work for different circumstances. As you could hear, ReStem 2 separates in general really good and correct. But there are exceptions. Let me show you one. This is the well-known Amen break. When I unmix this one, ReStem 2 barely sees any kicks. Instead, it sees it as a tom. But it does grab the kick as a tom really well. I hope that in a future version you can change the classification of a stem for that, because now I will miss out on some of the other functions of ReStem 2 for the kick. These other functions are pretty useful and most of them were already in version 1. For each stem you get gate, dynamics and the new MIDI out function. This MIDI out can send its own channel and MIDI note per stem and things like the hi-hat and toms. You even get separate notes per tom pitch or hi-hat texture. Here is an example of how ReStem recognizes two toms in a stem. And here I have layered snare and kick under the Amen break using the MIDI output of ReStem 2. I did some cleaning up and this is how that sounds. The MIDI tracking of ReStem 2 is really good. One thing to note is that the MIDI function does not work in ARA mode, and I assume it's because of ARA limitations. Now, for some reason here in Cubase, when I use ReStem as MIDI output for my MIDI drums, the recorded notes are an octave too low. Here you can see I have set toms, which is the kick remember, to C1 and snare to D1. But after recording they show up as C0 and D0. Transpose the MIDI by an octave and it's fixed. This also happens when you use the MIDI drag option, but since the default settings in ReStem are an octave higher, it all ends up nicely. So maybe WaveMachine Labs is aware and this is a workaround. The kick and snare stem have more extended options. The dynamics have an extra restorer module to restore lost transients. And they both have the Drumagog drum replacer module. With this one you can load in Drumagog files which come with ReStem and blend them in to taste. Very powerful. I must say that in this version too, I miss things for the drum replacer, like pitch adjustment and envelope shaper to tweak the drum replacing samples better. But for now, you can use the MIDI output option to have more control with an external drum sampler. With all of these modules, you can really adjust and tweak the drums within a mix if you want. One thing to note, the plugin version, at least in Cubase, has a latency compensation bug when you bypass it. There's a time shift. When you play it alongside the original track, it becomes obvious. Now what I like is that the plugin can look for updates, so you have the latest new version at hand. And it was needed to update a few times because of bugs I encountered. WaveMachine Labs is on top of that. What I don't like is that the download is the full 3.5 GB every time. And I had to download it 5 times because of the bug fixes. A large chunk of that 3.5 GB download is only for the Drumagog files. I wouldn't mind a separate download for the main files and a separate one for the Drumagog files. So after all of this, we do need to talk about the pricing. ReStem 2 Pro, which we showed in the video, is $199. The core version is $99 and only has the offline on-mixing options. The upgrade prices are respectively $99 and $49 or 50% off the new pricing. I think that's too high for existing users. It's on par with upgrading Cubase, and that's a full-fledged DAW. That said, the quality is there, and in my opinion, ReStem stays the best drum unmixer with extras right now. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.